be living in a dream. Feel the world is at our feet, and our hearts in the right place. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day. Sun above, sky is golden. We run free like a river, carried away in the moment. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day. And I never knew magic like this. The clouds have fallen to the sea, and I never knew happiness like this. Now I breathe easy. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day. Time quietly slips away, a perfect day.
Well, good evening. I want to welcome you to the Chandler City Council meeting of September 12th, 2019. And I would like the clerk to please take the roll call.
Mayor Hartke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember McClymans,
Here.
Councilmember Wong,
Here.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. So our invocation will be led by Pastor Victor Hardy and our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Sam Wong. Pastor Hardy.
Let us prepare our hearts and minds for prayer. Not another second or another minute, not an hour or another day, but at this moment, with our arms outstretched, we need you to make a way as you have done so many times before, through a window or an open door, Lord. We need you right away. Let us pray. Dear Father, we thank you for this time that we have with you right now. We're grateful for the time that we spend with you. Please bless this meeting and let those without whom think they do not have voices are represented soundly. May this body represent all those whom come within earshot or outside of this building and be represented for each and everything that is done. May each and every person's problems and situations be helped, and may they be treated with dignity. Dear Father, we thank you on this day, because on this date, we held each other a lot tighter. We held each other with more love. No matter who we were, where we came from, this country became as one. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hardy. Thank you, Councilmember Wong. Again, we want to welcome all of you here tonight. Tonight, we have a consent agenda of 63 items. We have a discussion item, and then there will be unscheduled public appearances, and then current events and announcements. So, Council, we have 63 items on our consent agenda. What is your pleasure? Councilmember McClymans.
A motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 63.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor. All right. First motion and a second. Council, please vote.
Mayor?
Oh, yes.
I do need to declare conflict of interest on item number 5.
Very
so
good.
I'm not going to vote on it.
Very good. Any other discussion, Council? All right. So please vote.
Motion carries unanimously with the exception of item number 5, which passes 6-0 with Councilmember Wong declaring a conflict of interest.
And to those in the audience, we've had a pretty good discussion, pretty robust discussion on a number of these items on Monday night at our study session. So usually when we've done that at a study session, these often flow just like you just saw. Next on our agenda is a discussion, item number 1. Councilmember Sam Wong requested a discussion and possible council direction regarding the process for filling council vacancies. We will not be voting on this tonight. This is purely discussion and not action. But Councilmember Wong.
Yes. I come from a different culture, but the belief in democracy and also believe in personnel issue should be doing in secret manners. And so, and also something related to our personal interest should be declared a conflict of interest. I was surprised to learn the council decide our own salary. But I try to find out if there's other mechanic to solve this issue. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it. And later, last year, when former council member Laura Allen resigned, I found out that we need to appoint or elected a new council member. And I discovered, it will be decided by the remaining council. And I just feel this is pretty unacceptable. Like how come we appoint our own peers? And because each of us is elected by the public vote. But there's, in politics, there's also some kind of compromise. And there's a principle, we need to uphold some principle, but at the same time, we also need to looking for practical purpose. And so this is why if somebody appointed by the council, that would be most economic. And still, the remaining council still have some kind of still have the representation of the people. So from this point of view, yes, the council can appoint another council member, but I just want to have, I just want to broaden the representation. So this, after some discussion with the city attorney and also consult with the legal requirement, So I come up with a suggestion. And of course, this suggestion, I do need to consult with my peers and what do they think. And originally, I would like to make it an action item to give a vote, but maybe it's too early for that. So that's also think for Mayor's suggestion that we make it a discussion item. So I don't think I'm going to propose a vote during my tenure as a council member, but I would like to boil this up for the audience, for the council to think it over. So this is what I'm proposed. I think the procedure is okay. From beginning, we request for applicants, and then there will be 20 or 30 people who apply, and the council review all the applications, and then we pick maybe 7 to 9 applicants we think are most qualified, and then we invite them to the council, have the interview in public. And it's recorded, it's online, it's on TV, which I think is very open and very transparency. I like it. And then this current practice is then we go to an executive section and we have discussion and we get some idea of what each council member and mayor and vice mayor think. And then we come out to the dais and then somebody are going to make a motion to nominate somebody and then we vote on it. And on this part, I do have problem. I think it should be a secret vote. And so neither of us don't know who we voted for. But after our city attorney is here, if I make some mistake, please correct me, okay? But it looks like current requirement on the law, current regulation does not allow that, does not allow the secret vote. And also voted by 6 people, it doesn't look like a very good representation. So I come up with the idea is, I'm going to read it. So number 1, application from interest person will be received by the city and reviewed by the council. B, the council will select applicants to interview. Interview will be conducted at a public meeting. So this guarantees transparency. After interview of the applicants, each council member may nominate 1 person to move forward in the process. The council should nominate at least 2, but not more than 6 persons to refer to the vacancy recommending committee. Council members may select the same or different persons. So that means each remaining council member can nominate 1, no more than 1. But some council member may say, oh, no, I'm not going to nominate somebody. So, but the idea is to nominate at least 2 and to give to a committee to select it. Let me finish it. D, the council will create a vacancy recommending committee consisting of members of the city's various board and commission members who are residents and who have not applied to fill the vacancy. The vacancy recommending committee will review the nominated persons and recommend a candidate to the council to fill the vacancy. So we are giving the recommendation and the nomination power to a committee. And this committee is consists of our board, our subcommittee, sub-board, or advisory board, or I think we have maybe 14 or to 20 subcommittee. They are, theoretically speaking, they are the most involved resident of Chandler. Every one of them are registered voter, and every one of them are legal resident of the city. Theoretically speaking, they are the most current and most involved citizen. So, and then the final one, the council may accept or reject the recommendation of the vacancy nominating committee. If the recommendation is rejected, the council will vote on a candidate from the nominated person to fill the vacancy. So this last provision will still guarantee the council have the same power as it is today. So if the council decide, oh, no, this this idea is not good, or the vacancy recommending committee did not submit somebody that's really fit into the council position or due or qualification, the council still withhold the power. But if we go through this, I think it would be more, I still believe the secret ballot should be the best way, but we cannot do it. And so this is a compromise that at least we give, we temporarily remove the power from the council to a committee, which is consist of I don't have the number in my mind, maybe 120 people. And that's, at least that has some sort of representation. So this, I just want to bring up this to let our other council members to think about that. And if, I hope I can get a more favorable or maybe a better idea than this. Yeah, I'm not going to say this is the best idea. But it will just, overall, I just don't feel the council should appoint our own peers. It should be selected by a committee, a bigger committee, or by the people directly. Yeah. So, that's it. And I think everybody here knows that I have been consistent in this argument from the beginning, right before former council member Nora Allen resigned. Yeah, it's very so it's nothing personal and nothing. Yeah, it's purely on the policy. Yeah, thank you.
City Attorney, could you just refresh us again the process as it is now?
I am happy to do that, Mayor. The current charter, which was approved by the voters, allows for the filling of vacancies that to be selected by a majority vote of the council. And the council has to appoint a qualified person to serve for the unexpired term. And if the council fails to make an appointment within 30 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, then you have to call a special election and it goes to a vote of the people. So you do have a very short window in which to set up a process and fill the vacancy. But the actual process of how you're going to go about selecting candidates and interviewing them or whatever is really at the discretion of the council each time you have a vacancy under the current charter and the laws we have now.
Okay. So hypothetically, as long as council had the final vote and we were able to reach that decision within 9 or 30 days, then there could be some variance on how we do that, but we are the ones responsible according to our citizen-approved charter to make that decision. And whether there's other people, bodies recommending or speaking or addressing, it still comes down to we cannot abdicate that vote, correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. Council comments or questions? Go ahead.
So Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
Orlando, thank you, Mayor. So Councilmember Juan, I appreciate you, trying to look at our processes. I've been to 2 of them. I know that guy sitting to your right was one of the guys we selected.
I've been through the same
Twice.
too.
That's right. And he was one of the candidates and he was successful. Actually, the process changed a little bit because when I was on the council, it had to be a public vote, a public interview, and we couldn't go to executive session. So somehow the laws changed, but we had a all public, both scenarios. So in your case, you at least had a chance to dialogue a little bit more without embarrassing some of the candidates. And Mayor, you and I chat about this a few times. It was a little embarrassing to be able to sit there and say, gee, Kevin Harkey, you're not a good guy, or Matt Lane, you're not a good guy, but I want this person. So that respect of the process, I think it's a much better process to go behind closed doors and discuss that. Like the mayor, I have no problem with looking at other citizens' input. Obviously, yes, this is a community of 260,000 people. We do have a timeline. We do have to figure out how you get these folks engaged. My suggestion, council member, is if we pursue this, is if you like, we could, and we've done this in the past, look at a subcommittee, and I'll be happy to join you since I have a little experience on that committee. And actually, everyone here has experience too as well. And we could put together a little subcommittee, study this, and come with a recommendation back to this body. Again, I enjoy looking at policy and procedures and tweaking them. And again, I think it's a great idea that we look at it. If we feel that we want to move forward with something different, we bring it back to the body. So that'd be my recommendation, Mayor, is to put together a subcommittee and we could chat a little bit more about it and bring something forward if possible.
So if I recall correctly, because this got asked, again, when you talked about the previous time that we did it in selecting Councilmember Kleinman's, we asked multiple times on what happened before, how did they do it? And again, my question at the time was, is this not an established process? And so my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that all it is in our charter states is that the council selects, it sets the limits and the times and deadlines, but it doesn't define the process on how we get there. Every council gets to select how we get there. Is that correct?
If I may, Mayor, Councilmember Lopez, that is correct. The only requirement you have are the charter requirements that the council select the person and that it be done within 30 days.
Otherwise, it goes to special election.
Correct.
And that the council votes on it. And just to make a correction, Councilman Orlando, and Councilman Wong, the executive session was for the discussion, but when we came back out onto the dais, the vote was still in public. Okay. Because then, Councilman Wong, so is your recommendation that we codify in ordinance the vacancy filling requirements and process? Or are these just suggestions for the next time it comes out? Because it sounds like right now, again, every council gets to decide, and it was a majority then, and like you did bring this up in discussion when we had the last appointment, and we voted on a process by majority, and we went down the path, and it seems like that was the path that we wanted to go on as a majority. And I understand wanting to involve more of the community, but I also don't see that we'd want to hamstring or tie the hands of future council members in their process, because there could be different dynamics and there could be other issues they may have to deal with. The process you're talking about could be implemented the next time it happens on the next council. Because right now we don't document it, or we don't codify the process. So.
Mayor?
Councilmember Wong.
So the major point I want to bring is I would like to have at least 2 nominations, and each council member can have 1 nomination if they choose to, but of course they don't need to. So I don't like the way right now what we are doing is, okay, I nominate somebody, and then there's only 1 person, and then you have to vote on it. Then there's no selections. But this voted in the public, it's really caused some kind of uncomfortable situation on personnel issue. Like when we have vacancy of the city staff or something, then we do it in public. This is really, it's personnel issue. You don't want people to know who you vote for. Yeah.
But we can't abdicate that, Councilmember.
Mm-hmm.
And we also, the very process that you're mentioning, we had that initial part, and out of 30-some, we each selected a panel. I believe we had about 9 people, and then we actually publicly interviewed all of them and then went to a vote. So I think it's just the third party is what you're speaking as a difference. But ultimately, we cannot abdicate a vote. And how we get there, whether we select and then publicly interview, this council could have interviewed 34 people had they chosen, or 2 people. And I just think that was just what the council chose, but yeah.
So back to my original question, Councilmember Wong.
Mm-hmm.
Is your intentions for us to codify this in our ordinance, a process for the next vacancy filling? Or are you just throwing these as ideas for the next time it happens?
Yeah, I would like it to be change the ordinance or the procedure to decide what happened next time.
So again, there is nothing right now that defines that, am I correct? Right? So only that we have to vote in public, and within 30 days, otherwise it goes to special session. So again, there's no process right now. So as you're advocating for us creating a process for the vacancy filling to be put into, I don't know, would be city ordinance or whatever. If that would actually require charter change, I don't know, but.
If I may,
City Attorney.
if I may, Mayor, Councilmember Lopez, Councilmember Wong, if the council wants to put a process in place, define the process and put it in place, my recommendation would be to put it in the council rules and procedures rather than codifying it. Again, you have a very short window. 30 days is not a very long time to get a lot done, and it is easier to change the council rules and procedures if you find that the process is too cumbersome or needs to be revised.
And
Councilmember Stewart, and then Vice Mayor.
So your point you just made me think of something else, and I'll circle back on that. But you know, one of the things I want to put a bookmark is we can always change the charter to extend that window of 30 days to something like 45 or 60 if, to Councilmember Wong's point, to get more community inclusion or more board member inclusion or whatever that may be. That's certainly something we should consider and talk about. When we consider codifying things in the ordinance, we always think about future. Like what will council be like 20 years from now, and what will maybe a rogue council do with that type of appointment power it could backfire, and there's unintended consequences. But I'd like Councilmember Orlando's point. Let's sit in a room and whiteboard this thing out and talk about, okay, what does it look like to get more inclusion, right? That's basically the goal here, to get the very best candidate possible through the process, which of course Councilmember Lopez mentioned. We did have that process in a study session where we sat and we said, okay, here's all of our options. What do you want to do? Well, we got this amount of time. Let's go. But certainly getting more involvement from the community is important. But figure out what the unintended consequences of making an ordinance change like this would be, because you never know what's going to happen 20 years from now. So, but thank you for bringing it up. It's important that we talk about it.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Wong, it was well thought out. A couple of things that I will say is that there were a number of very qualified people that put in for this position, and some of those people are in this room. And what we're not talking about is what would have happened if the person that we voted for had not prevailed. And at that point, there would have been a no vote, potentially, and then there would have been an open discussion for possible other candidates. So it doesn't end necessarily with, this is our choice. So because there's been some discussion, hey, we like these folks, there was probably a top, I can't remember the number, 9 people or something that really shined, and it was a tough decision. So I think that there was a mechanism for going beyond our vote here on the dais. We could have gone to a second vote, a third vote, and sometimes, in fact, this sort of thing does do that. And we did have a public vote, and we had an opportunity for public discussion. Once a motion is made on anything up here, am I right? That there is a call for discussion, and anything requires a second. If somebody nominates someone, it would need a second. There'd be an opportunity for discussion, and you could yes vote it or no vote it, and then you could go on to other candidates if you wanted to, or come back to the original candidate. This is a procedure. We could have spent 2 hours on this. We could have spent 3 hours on this trying to sort this out. So to the council's credit, we coalesced around an individual and made a choice. And but anyway, and then the other thing is there's a couple of other things, but one thing is I don't think that this has only happened like 2 times that I can remember in a number of years. And I don't want to go back to how many years ago it was that a certain person got appointed, but it was a while ago. So it hasn't happened too many times, and I'd almost rather hear that discussion that you're presenting right there at the beginnings of a discussion about making an appointment. We may not, it's likely that this council will not make an appointment, and maybe not the next council. And it's hard to say, we don't know what the future holds, but I would say clearly we can define a little bit of how we do it, and it sounds like maybe we can discuss all of that if there ever is that opportunity, which I hope there won't be, for us to go through this process again. But I think what we did was sound, and it is a temporary position, and I have no problem with it. That's my discussion.
Councilmember Wong.
I want to stress that this is a personnel issue. This involved with person. And the people we are going to appoint it will be sitting on the dais, and we will need to work together. When we nominate somebody in the public, and then he or she got a no vote from the majority, it's embarrassing to the people who nominate him or her. It's also embarrassing for the people who got nominated. So this is why when we choose somebody, it's always in secret ballot. And unfortunately, we cannot do secret ballot. So we can transfer this burden to a committee, and which have a broader representation, who are theoretically speaking the most involved citizens. So this, whoever they choose, sitting on the dais, will avoid all those uncomfortableness, will avoid all those embarrassings. And this really unloads the council's burden. And also this person have a representation. And so this is why I think my idea won't be the best idea, but it's better than the way we are doing right now. And I have no problem about all the previous, all the first few steps. We request for applicants, we review the people, we select the people, and then we have an executive meeting. I have no problem with that. My problem is on the final step. How do we nominate the candidates? Yeah. So,
Councilmember Wong,
thank you.
That's the one step we cannot abdicate. And as someone who's, I think I'm the only one here who can say this, that has been on both sides of this. The first time that I ran for an appointment, I had 3 no votes. The second time, I had 1 no vote. And in this process, I've been on that side, and I didn't feel embarrassed. I trusted the council that they were honest, that they had guiding principles. And when I was not appointed, and then when I was appointed, I felt that the council, in all honesty, was, with their integrity, was doing what they felt best. And I believe the council did too. And on this side of the fence, when we've done that, I felt the same. So I guess I just didn't sense on either side, as the only one here who's gone through that, of embarrassment or shame. And I believe at that time, the councils made a decision how they wanted to do that. And just as we did, I just would not want to take this decision and codify it for future councils to say, this is the only way that you can do that. If they would like to bring in a group to also meet with them to make recommendations, and it could work in a timely fashion, or if they had people in the audience, 120 people is an unwieldingly, and actually our boards and commissions is more than 120 if I tally everyone. It's an unwielding group of people to try to get something like that done. But could there be representation that could address that similar to others? But ultimately, we have to make that decision. That is by, that's just part of what we're here for, and running the city.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So, well, I want to show my admiration to you. I did not know the history, and I did not know you got no vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
You think everyone just loves me, but
Not everyone.
But I just feel that we are going to select somebody to sit on the dais. And when that person got nominated, receive any no vote would be embarrassing to whoever nominated him or her or to the person who got nominated. So I want to avoid all this. So if we can unload this button and we remove our power just temporarily, because the recommendation committee, their recommendation can still be vetoed by the council. Yeah.
Well,
Although, yeah. So,
Councilmember Lopez.
so are you now, just to try to understand, are you advocating now for a charter change so that the council doesn't vote on the appointment, that it's a commission that does?
no, the committee will come up with their own vote, whatever procedure as city attorney says, and then it will eventually still come back to the council to make a decision. Yeah. So the committee will recommend one. We nominate 2 to 6, and they recommend 1 to us, and then we can do whatever we have been doing. And just like city attorney suggests, we can change the council procedure. That would be more practical. Yeah. Do I answer your question?
Kind of.
Yeah.
So I guess in order for a commission to move forward as recommended, if you want to start people to sit down and start looking at it, I think we just need a better objective on what is it that you're looking to do and change and implement. Because it does seem like the one item that you've talked about 3 times and advocating for a secret vote cannot happen, period. So it seems like there's a couple other ideas you've thrown out. So I would just say that we just need to make sure that there's a very well-defined objective and goals and intent for that commission so that they're not just, wandering around trying to figure out what you wanted. So I know this is an open discussion, but I don't know, that's my input is, I think your goal needs to be refined a little bit more before we start putting and committing resources to it. So, my opinion.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, just one quick clarification. I think this is right. If we were sitting here and we were beginning the process, it was the beginning of those 30 days, am I right to say if we wanted to follow what Councilmember Wong has, if we wanted to follow that procedure, the council at that time could say, this is how we'll go about doing it?
Yes.
If I may, Mayor, Vice Mayor, that is correct. You can define the council that is charged with filling the vacancy can, at this time, define the process however they want.
So in effect, Councilman Wong, it sounds like if that was, if we were starting another procedure, we could follow that if the council as a group wanted to do that, or do it slightly different than that. So anyway, that was my question.
So Mayor,
Councilmember Orlando.
just for the record, the no vote was not against you.
We're still good friends. We're good.
No, the no vote was against the process, Councilmember Wong.
Yeah.
So, I share your concern. Again, we're kind of going over this like 2 or 3 times. I think there's 4 or 5 issues here that we could address. There's a timing issue, there's a responsibility issue. There's a lot of stuff in this proposal that I think I need some time to digest, and I know perhaps some of the other members on this council needs time to digest. So, obviously, we're not making a decision tonight, but by the same token, I think you've got to move forward because we could probably be here all night. And again, I don't want to stifle any type of discussion. That's not my intent here, but we are kind of repeating territory here. So do we want to move forward in another, you have another idea how to move forward? Do you want to take this separately? You want to look at another, like I said, a subcommittee, or do you want to, I'm just trying to figure out how we move forward here, so.
Yeah. So the purpose of today is just for discussion, to throw up the idea, just like you say, we all need to digest a little bit. And I probably need to make a better presentation later or something.
Presentation was fine.
But something like this I don't know if they have been discussed before or not. I just want to throw something. The Chinese saying is throw a stone and get a jet back. So I believe more people, when an issue being raised, have been discussed, some people will come up with some idea that's even better than what I propose. Yeah. So I do appreciate that your suggestion to form a subcommittee for something, but of course this will be decided by the council if and the mayor if we want to have this subcommittee. And I appreciate that you would like to sit in the committee, and of course I will be one of them. And yeah.
I would,
Mhm.
I would like us to revisit this with city manager before I call a subcommittee, and that's a possibility, but I'm not prepared to do that at this days, but I think let's keep the conversation going, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Great. All right. Any further discussion, Council? And Councilmember Wong, thank you. I know this has weighed heavily on you through the last decision, and I know that your intention is you want to get the best person here, and I think we all do. And working with our responsibilities and not abdicating them, I think we're certainly open to seeing, can we get more input in that process? And maybe that's the piece of conversation that could go forward, and even making a recommendation for future groups to consider at that point.
So, so the point here is some person will be selected. What I care is about the procedure.
Yeah.
What I care about, even with public vote, we can still select somebody we don't like. It's possible, right? But I just want to focus the procedure, and I don't like 6 person decide another person to be here. It's so.
But ultimately, it will come down to that. no matter
Yeah,
how
I
you
understand.
decide. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, Mayor, I mean,
thank you all. Final comments.
as a correction, though, if the council is inactive for 30 days, it goes to the public. So if it gets advocated that we don't act, or a council that's appointing doesn't act, then it does go to the public, and then everybody gets to vote. But again, it's a costly event, but I mean, we don't make decisions just solely based on money. However, that's the decision for the council to make, because we could have done that also if we didn't like the candidates, and or if we couldn't decide on anyone and it was days and days, the time runs out, it goes to the public vote. So there is that fail-safe in there also, just as a reminder.
Final comments? All right, let's close the discussion. Next on our agenda is unscheduled public appearances. We cannot address you with your concerns, but does anyone have comments, questions for council? Seeing none. Current events. Earlier this week, I hosted my first HOA Roundtable at Chandler Gilbert Community College, and we probably had about 150 people show. It was a great showing of our community. Beth Mulcahy from Mulcahy Law Firm did an excellent job of talking about the responsibilities of running an HOA, as well as brought us up to date on current legislation that affected our HOAs. And I thought she did a great job. And we are continue to be committed to our neighborhoods and plan for the future, but I thought this was an invaluable process that we have used in the past, and we will continue to do so. Also, I want to give a big thank you to our neighborhood services, Leah Powell and others, for putting on a very successful event. Next, I want to bring up we have our MNEA Voting Open and our GAIN kickoff. So voting is live for the Mayor's Neighborhood Excellence Awards, in case you were wondering what MNEA actually stood for. The awards recognize neighborhoods for their dedication for creating community through the involvement in the annual GAIN, Getting Arizona Involved in Neighborhoods events that bring neighbors together and support public safety. So be sure to cast your vote online by September 16th and join us in person at the GAIN kickoff event, September 21st, where we will announce the winners. Thirdly, many of us on council came from a new piece of public art that has been installed in our downtown at the corner of Buffalo and Oregon, and there we are. streets just south of the Overstreet parking garage. This was designed by Leith Ranzenberger, and it's a fun photo opportunity that celebrates Chandler and is a symbol of the city's continued commitment to the redevelopment of downtown. Be sure and visit. We took about 4 different kinds of crazy pictures there, and you can create your own memories there as well. Lastly, I was really moved yesterday. I attended, as did Councilmember Orlando and Vice Mayor Rowe, a 9/11 event, a parade and observance put on by one of our communities, Sunbird in South Chandler. And it was moving to have a high school there, to have a prayer event, and just continuing to remind ourselves of our sacred trust of freedom and the fact that freedom is not free, that people always pay a price for that. So I want to thank Sunbird for their putting that together and inviting us, and look forward to the 3rd annual next year, as well as other opportunities to continue to remember the cost of our freedom and to celebrate how fragile it can be without citizens like us continuing to stand for it. So thank you. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor, and that's a great tribute. And I want to thank Pastor Hardy for mentioning that the day after 9/11 was a remarkable day for our nation. So, on a happier note, and one of my favorite weekends is coming up next weekend. Friday is the kickoff of the 2nd annual Chandler Innovations Entrepreneurial Startup Connection. And so the event kicks off with a cocktail reception at Flick's Brew House on Friday night. So we had a great turnout last year. I bet there was at least 70 to 100 people there. We had a speaker. We've got other activities planned for this event this weekend. But the following Saturday, there'll be workshops. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you have an idea, or maybe you're a brand new startup and you need some direction and some guidance on finance, marketing, social media, how to take an invention from start to finish, you'll be able to do that on Saturday. And that will be a great opportunity for entrepreneurs and industry experts to basically collide and to meet with one another. So you may find your next co-founder at Startup Weekend. Chandler is a community of entrepreneurs, pioneers. A lot of us are from somewhere else. And we came here for opportunity, and we found it. Many of us have found it here. And maybe there's another opportunity or a side gig that you could do on this weekend. But registration will close on the 17th, which happens to be my birthday. So just so happens to be Constitution Day, which is maybe my 2nd favorite day of the year. But get registered, show up. It's a lot of fun, and it's 100% free. And it's going to be at Flick's Brew House. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember, thank you also for each of our council really has a passion that brings a unique perspective to our city. And I thank you for this and your passion for small businesses, and happy birthday. So, Councilmember McClimans.
Happy Thursday. I don't have any announcements.
Vice Mayor Rowe.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is the 9/12, September 12th. Yesterday was 9/11. I could not get out of this meeting without a shout out to our public safety professionals. They are here all hours of the day, 7 days a week, and we owe them a great deal. And then I will also read a very quick note on Hurricane Dorian. On September 1st, Dorian made landfall in the Northwest Bahamas. Category 5 hurricane. It is the strongest hurricane on record to hit the area. In the wake of this devastating hurricane, it is estimated that 70,000 people have been left homeless, and there have been countless deaths, with hundreds of people still missing. The official organization for all funds for the Bahamas hurricane relief effort is the National Association of Bahamas, NAB. And you can visit their website. It should be here on the screen for you to see. And once in a while, we hope you will join us and others and reach out to help out folks that are in need. And this is clearly a case of some people that are in a bad way, and hopefully we can help them. Thank you.
Councilmember Wong.
City of Chandler have a Census Complete Count Committee 2020, which Council Member Mark Stewart is the chair. I'm the vice chair. And well, it's actually his play. I mostly just sitting there, relax, and see what they are doing. But just like to say, this census is very important because every 10 years we use this data to decide how the legislative district was drawn, how the congressional district was drawn, and also there are many federal programs will be the allocation of those funding and resource is also decided by the number of by how many people we have been counted. So, but we do have citizens or residents. This counts everyone, not just citizens, including permanent residents and also including illegal immigrants. Yeah. So please encourage your neighbors, your friends to be counted. And it's, well, there's some sensitive issue. I don't want to say it here, but it's very important that every people be counted because it involves a lot of resource and program. And to my knowledge, each person will accounted for at least $2,000 a year, at least. I don't have the correct number, but I know it's at least $3,000 or even $5,000. And think about that. That's how much money if the people are not counted. And so, just want to make a promotion and please tell everybody and encourage the counting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wong. Councilmember Lopez.
No announcements. Thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to wish a special birthday to a 4-year-old girl named Adriana. Papa loves you, and we'll be home soon.
And Council, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that we can have a good discussion up here and focus on the issues and focus on what's best for Chandler. And I thank you for your contributing to that, and I know that's all of our goals. So with that, City Manager, any announcements?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
I almost forgot you. All right, with that, our meeting is over.